we go. So today we're going to be solving compound inequalities. The idea behind this is that you're doing two inequalities at one time. Say that again. Two inequalities one time. Two, y'all are hilarious. I love y'all. Two inequalities at one time. So when you solve two inequalities at one time, you're going to have to use what's called interval notation to write your answers in. So we're going to review the concept of interval notation before we do anything else. That involves the ideas of open and closed dots. It's the same concept, and it's about shading from there. Okay, so here we go. Parentheses. When you see parentheses like this is going to be used for interval notation. This is going to be used when you have things like less than or greater than. It's like not having the bar underneath. Whenever you don't have the bar underneath, it's going to have parentheses. Just like open and closed dots. So this is going to be like open dots. Okay. All this means is the endpoint is not included. Say that again. The endpoint is not included.
What does that mean?
When you go to a graph, if I could spell, hold on. When you go to a graph and you put the endpoint, if it's open, that endpoint is not part of your answer. If it's closed, the endpoint is part of your answer. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We'll look at it. We'll see physical graphs in a second. Let me know if you still have a question once we look at those, okay? Okay. That'll be on some of the examples. From there, brackets. Brackets are only used when you have closed dots. Closed dots. That means you're going to be using the symbols less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And that means that your endpoint is included. Okay. Your endpoint is going to be included. Now for interval notation, you're also going to have to represent the arrows that go either way if they go on forever. And we do that using the infinity symbol because, guys, what does an arrow mean? It goes on forever. So it goes to infinity. Infinity is a number that never stops. It keeps going. That's what that word, what that symbol means. So when you look at a number line, if you had something that was shaded where it was like a dot here and it went this way with a solid arrow on this end, that would be represented by a negative sign and the infinity. Why would it have a negative sign? Because you're getting more and more negative as you go this way. Alright, worth less and less and less, but it keeps going forever. On this end, if you had one and you were trying to represent it and it went this way, it would go towards positive infinity. It just means it never stops, guys. That's all it means. Now, if it never stops, it doesn't have an endpoint. And when it doesn't stop, instead of using brackets, because it doesn't ever end, it's like open, it continues. So whenever you do this, you're going to represent this with parentheses every single time. When you have an infinity symbol, it doesn't matter if it's a negative infinity symbol or a positive infinity symbol, you're always going to put a parentheses next to it. Right? Now, all I've done is give you some information, guys. We haven't done anything yet. Does anybody have any questions before we keep going? Just on the information. And like, we're just on like the interval notation. We haven't even done anything yet with compound inequalities. Okay. So, here we go. Let's keep going. So when you do a compound inequality, you're going to have two options. You're going to have some that say or, and you're going to have some that say and. This is what the ors look like. Skip down a little bit and write this on your paper. I'm going to write something above it. That's why I said skip down a little bit. It's going to be x is less than negative 3 or x is greater than or equal to 1. That's a compound inequality. It's not crazy, guys. It's just two inequalities written at the same time. That's all it is. Now, for the word or, every time you see an or problem, it's going to be graph everything. Say that again. Graph everything that is shaded. Say it again. Graph. Not y'all. Y'all are funny. Everything. Y'all are funny. I love that. Everything. I love this class. That is shaded. Y'all are very nice as a pick-me-up at the end of the day. I appreciate it. I love that y'all participate and have fun. Here we go. Graph everything that is shaded. Alright, guys, this is also, now, I'll be interested to see if anybody has heard of this before. Has anybody heard of unions and intersections? The little U, the little upside down? Some, not a lot. It's not common for you to see it. It's about sets. You'll see it in other classes as you go forward, though, and if you get the concept of it before you get there, you'll be better off. This is just a union, guys. It's putting everything together. The symbol for it looks like that. It's a big U. Okay? It's taking everything in both of them and putting it all together. That's all it is. Take everything, put it on the graph. What, sitting? Union. Union. And the symbol for it's a U. Alright? So guys, we draw a number line. We put our numbers on there. It needs to go from -3 all the way up to 1. So -3, -2, -1, 0, and 1. Now listen, this is the part that's different. Remember I told you not to draw your graphs above because we're going to do that eventually and we're going to use it? This is why. Okay? This one would be open at -3 and go this way. Don't shade it in, just quick. Just sketch right above it. Bless you. This one would be a solid dot at 1 and it would shade this way. Notice I'm not making the arrow I'm not doing any of that. I'm just quick right above it. Doesn't need to take you a long time. Because this is an or statement, you take everything and combine it and just drop it down onto the graph. So you formally go down here, you put the circle here, you draw it this way. You take the solid circle here, that takes the most time to shade in that circle, and then shade it this way. Now, if you're asking, because I did the first time somebody taught me this, why would I draw it above it and draw it below it? You'll see when we get to the problems where it does something different. There's a reason we shade it above it. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is interval notation. So guys, let me tell you, if you ever see an arrow shaded in like a triangle like this, I suggest you write the infinity symbol here with the negative on this side, and write the infinity symbol on this side. And I'll tell you, it's going to help you with interval notation. I'll show you why. When I write this problem, I'm going to start by putting the two things, these two things, here and here, because this is my arrow and this is my point. And I'm going to write them like this. Negative infinity, comma, -3. And I've got to decide whether to put parentheses or brackets beside them. Anytime you add an infinity symbol, I told you what goes beside it. Parentheses. And then beside the -3 is open, so it's also going to be a what? Parentheses. Guys, if it's open, it's parentheses. If it's open, it's a parentheses. Then we write the word or in the middle. Y'all understand it's just a different way to write the same thing that's up here? I'm just writing it a different way. That's all I'm doing. Now, when I write this one, I'm going to put my numbers in first. It's going to be 1 and the infinity symbol. Next to the 1, because it is closed in, what goes beside it? Brackets. And infinity symbol is always a parenthesis. That's interval notation. That's it, guys. That's all you got to be able to do interval notation. When someone asks you to write something in interval notation, that's it. That is the answer. Questions, concerns, anything so far? I'm going to go slow enough to let you ask questions. Please ask them. Anybody see anything? Wonderful.
Wait,
Yep.
so the arrow you drew above is not the right one?
That's the same thing. You have to graph whatever it is above it before you drop it down onto the graph. Why do you have to do that? You'll see in a minute. Guys, you won't see until you see one that does something weird why we do that. The ors don't do it very often. The ands, every single time it will matter. Yes?
What if we don't put the parentheses or brackets?
Then they'll be wrong. Yep. Guys, interval notation is something you got to know. They're going to ask it on the EOC. They're going to ask it in Algebra 2. It's a skill you got to have. So it's a language you've got to learn. If you need to make flashcards to remember when to use what, please do it. You've got to learn why you use parentheses and why you use brackets, and you got to know when to put them and when to put one and when to put the other. A very good question. Okay, guys, here we go. So write an interval notation and graph here. Now, if you have both, I suggest you do the graph first because it's easier to do the graph first than to go straight to interval notation. Here we go. We're going to come down here and our numbers need to go from 9 to 12. Okay? If I start at 9, go 10, 11, 12. Do you see I have a lot more numbers? But I just need to fill them in. Why do I need to fill them in? Because they gave me a graph with more numbers on it. So I need to fill it in. If I was doing it, I would only go from 9 to 12. Don't go past that. There's no need. I'm going to graph above my graph. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to the 12. I'm going to put an open dot and I'm going to shade it this way. I'm going to go to the 9. It is also a what? Open dot. Also an open dot. And it is going to shade to the left. Why to the left? Because it points to the left. Why did I go to the left? Okay, again, do you see this or? Even though they're both going in either directions, both parts can be true. I'm going to have, if something's over here, it's part of my answers. If something's over here, it's part of my answers. It doesn't have to be in both places. It's not about overlap. It's just as long as it's in one or the other, it's part of my answer. So all I do is drop this down, open, shade it this way. Drop this one down, shade it this way. And I personally, since y'all are new to interval notation, anytime you see an arrow, I would put your infinity symbols. So underneath the underneath the arrow on your right side, I would write the infinity symbol. Underneath the arrow on the left side, I would write the negative sign and then the infinity symbol. Now for interval notation, guys, the two things you write in this one are right here. They are negative infinity and 9. How do I know to put them in order? That's the way they appear on the graph. You go from left to right, just like you're reading a sentence. When I have the negative infinity and the 9, what am I going to put around them? Parentheses on both sides. I put the word or in between. Yes, it matters, because if you have and, it's different. So you have to put the word or in between. You cannot just write the two sets of parentheses. On this side, you're going to have another set of numbers. They are going to be what and what?
12 and infinity.
12 and infinity. It goes in that order. Then it's going to have what around both of them? Parentheses. And that is your interval notation. Anybody see anything else they need to ask about yet? Y'all seem like you're absorbing this fairly well. Anything you're like having trouble with yet? No? I'm going to change it up. I'm going to give you something that looks different. So here we go. So, why is this one different than the last one? What do you have to do in addition to what we had to do on the last one? Solve. Now, it doesn't ask for interval notation, but we're going to do that on every problem, on the notes. Only do it on the ones that ask for on the homework, guys. I'm just doing this because it helps. Here we go. In order to solve this, we're going to solve it just like last night's homework. We're going to start by subtracting 4. It's going to make it negative 3h is less than 15. We're going to divide both sides by negative 3. Now, I'm going to talk about this. Guys, remind you, if you divide or multiply by a negative, you must what? Switch the sign. It's now going to be greater than or equal to negative 5. For the other one, it's going to be plus 3 plus 3. It makes it 7h is greater than 21. We're going to divide by 7. And h is greater than what? 3. Now guys, you got to write your problem back as an or, so right above your graph. Don't put it right because you need some room to do your graphs above it, but write h is greater than negative 5 or h is greater than 3. You'll see why you have to put your graphs above it on this one. This is where they start being where it matters. Okay, I need my numbers to go from negative 5 to 3. So I'm going to start on negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Oh, it just barely fits. Guys, if you can't fit it that way, you could go every other number. You could go by evens, you could go by odds, you could count by 5s, you can make it fit. Okay, so if I draw it above it, it's going to be an open dot here, and I'm shading to the right. This one's going to be an open dot here, and it's going to shade to the right. Guys, if you graph everything, one of those two graphs takes over the other one. You see that the graph for the h is greater than negative 5 just incorporates the other one? Mm-hmm. Because of that, this is going to be the only part of it you put on there. This is your answer to the problem, that h is going to be greater than negative 5, because that's the only thing that you're going to write down here on your graph when you graph it. Because when you do this, as long as it is an answer for one of them, it's going to be an answer for both of them. So when you bring it down on your graph, you're going to have that open dot on the negative 5, and you're going to shade everything to the right-hand side. Take a minute and do that. Now we're still on an or problem, guys. Or. You'll see a difference when we get to and. Okay, now, I know it doesn't ask you guys, but because it only has one part of your answer, I want to make sure we talk about the interval notation for this. It's got one circle and it's got one triangle on the end. This triangle is at positive infinity. So if I was going to write this same thing in interval notation would look like this. It would have the negative 5 and it would have the infinity symbol. What would be on the side of the negative 5? Parentheses. What would be on the side of the infinity symbol? Parentheses. Guys, why is the one by the 5 a parentheses? Because it's what? Open. Because it's open. Like I said, it didn't ask you to do that, guys, but I'm going to do it mainly because I want more practice on interval notation before y'all get to your assignment. Okay. Anything before I go on? Anything about that before we switch to ands? No? Here we go. Let's switch to and, guys. And is going to be different. When you have an and problem, it's going to look like this. Negative 3 is less than x is less than or equal to 1. Guys, there's no and written there, is there? No. But there really is. Because anytime they write it in between, that means they both have to be true, yes? Yeah, they're one right here. Come right up here. Right in this drawer. Guys, anytime you need anything like that, just come on up. Right now, I just can't hold it open in there. Okay, here we go. If you're going to take this and turn it into an and statement, you break the x apart and repeat it. So it's going to be negative 3 is less than x, and x is less than or equal to 1. The only problem is, do you see this one's backwards? So in order to graph it, we're going to have to turn it around. So it would be x and negative 3. Because I flip it though, guys, I also have to flip my sign. It was originally less than, now it's going to be greater than. And then we write the rest of it just like it was. Now, please listen to me. You're going to see them like this, and you're going to see them like this. They are the same thing. I do not care at all which way you leave your answer. If you're more comfortable with them separate with this, if you're more comfortable with them together, write it like this. I don't care. You just have to be able, if they give you one like this, be able to take it apart to solve it. You'll see it as we do examples. Okay, ands are different. Ands are not about graphing everything that is shaded. Graphing on this one is only where they overlap. So you are only going to graph only, and I'm going to put it all caps. Only, and I'm going to underline it, only where they overlap, which means it has to be true for both of them to be part of your answer. If it's a part of an answer for one, it doesn't work. If it works only for the other one, it doesn't work. It has to work as an answer for both of them for it to be part of your solution. Alright, so I'm looking for where they overlap. So let's graph this. Here we go, guys. Draw a number line down here, leave some room above it so you can draw your graphs above it. You're going to need to go from negative 3 up to 1. I think it was like 5 numbers apart last time. Negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, and 1. Take a minute to get that number line. I didn't give you pre-made number lines on those, so it takes a little longer to draw. I get that, guys. Y'all know I try to give as much pre-made stuff as I can on there. Okay, above this, I'm going to put an open dot on the negative 3, and I'm going to shade to the right. How do I know to go to the right? Because it points to the right. For this one, I'm going to put a solid dot on the 1, and I'm going to shade to the left. You see the area where they overlap? It goes from here all the way up to here. That's what you're dropping down onto your graph. You're dropping down where they overlap. So your graph is going to go from an open dot right here on the negative 3 up to a solid dot on the 1, and you're going to shade everything that is in between. So I'm going to ask you some questions, guys. So, is negative 1 part of your solution set? Yes or no? Is that in your shaded area? Yes. Is 1 part of your solution set? Yes. Is negative 3 part of your solution set?
Yes.
Open.
No.
No if it's open. It's just a border. It's just holding the spot. Would 5 be part of your solution set? No. Yeah, go. You're good. You're good. That's going to be a no because it's out here. It only is the part where it's true for both of them. So it's only right here in the middle, guys. So far, any questions? Okay, guys. What's it called? Can't get the word to come out. The interval notation for this is really easy because y'all see we have no arrows. So the interval notation for this is pretty straightforward. This side has a negative 3. This side has a 1. What do I put next to the negative 3? Parentheses because it's open. What do I put next to the 1?
A bracket.
A bracket because it is closed. Good. Alright, flip it over. There we go. Okay, let's keep going. I feel bad leaving her, but I gotta go ahead. Okay, guys. Here we go. Write an interval notation and graph. So we're not doing any solving. It's already solved for us. All we need to do is put it on our graph and write an interval notation. We're going from 5 to 12. Hope that fits. 5. Oh yeah, that'll fit. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, I skipped something. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, it fit. 13. Had extra room. I felt like I skipped something. Okay, guys. Above it, it's going to be, oh shit, you put the thing in. It's going to be what kind of dot next to the 5? Closed. Write it above it, not on it, above it. You okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
just had a
You're
good
good.
idea.
You're good. My son gets them. Okay. His are usually big when he gets this. So we've got a solid dot here, shades to the right. On the 12, we've got an open dot, and it's going to shade to the left. Does anybody have a question why I did that? Anything about that? That part's okay. Okay? Question? Where do they overlap? Well, they overlap from the 5 all the way down to the 12. So it's going to be a solid dot on the 5, all the way down to an open dot on the 12. Ugh, sorry guys, I'm trying to make it a good line. There you go. Okay, so now we write interval notation. Anything about that before we go? Because I know some of y'all draw the graphs faster than others. Anything about that?
Huh?
You have a question?
How could you do, why,
Take your time, ask it.
how did you, why did you grab, why did you graph them?
Why did I graph them?
You, I thought you were only supposed to graph one.
No, you always graph both of them. What you're supposed to do is see where those two graphs overlap each other. You do have to graph both of them. I graphed the first one. It went from 5 all the way up. I graphed the second one. It goes from 12 all the way down. They overlap each other in this space. So that's the part I'm dropping down to the graph. Okay? It's what they have together. Now, guys, just real quick, I just want to go back and add something. This has to do with set notation later on. Let's just add this on here. I did put it on the last one, so I want to make sure I add it onto this one. Since we're here, let's go ahead and go back and add, just because I'm going to use this terminology and it might help you. This is what's called an intersection. Intersection. And the symbol for an intersection is an upside down U. An upside down U. That's why it's, guys, it's where they cross each other. It's where they overlap each other. It's where they intersect. Has to be true for both of them to be part of your answer. Since she mentioned that, it's a good time to go back and put that on there. It's not about what you can do with one. It's not about what you can do with the other. It's about what happens that's true for both of them. It's where they intersect. Okay, guys, here we go. Okay, let's go back to our problems. Anything on this one before I go on, before we do interval notation on it? Y'all tell me what it should be. What are the two numbers?
5 and 12.
5 and 12. What's next to the 5?
Bracket.
Bracket. Bracket. Close, bracket. And then what's next to the 12? Parentheses. Nice. Perfect. Nicely done, guys. Bracket next to the 5, parentheses next to the 12. Okay, here we go. Next one. Okay, guys, the first thing you got to do is what? Separate it. You're going to have to solve it, but you can't solve it like this. Oh, you do not want to try to solve it when it's like this. You know how many times you got to write the 2 underneath if you solve it like this? You got to put it 3 times, and you got to pull it to each side. Oh, it gets crazy. No, don't do it. It gets a little crazy. So we're going to take this, we're going to break it apart. It makes it 7 is less than x plus 2, and what do I do with the x plus 2? Just what? Write it again. Repeat it. X plus 2 is less than or equal to 11. Guys, all you do is take the one in the middle and just repeat it, put the word and in the middle. That's it. Okay, to solve these, you would minus 2, that'd make it 5 is less than x, but we have a problem. We don't use our graphing rules when the variable is on the right hand side, so in order to graph with this, we're going to turn it around and make it x is compared to 5. Since it was less than, it's now going to be greater than. For the next one, we're going to minus 2. It's going to make it x is less than or equal to 9. And then we take these two things and rewrite them together as an and statement. Guys, come down here, write it together as an and statement. That's your answer to the question when you solve it. That's the solved answer. Then you're going to graph it. Again, these need to be quick sketches. They do not need to take you a long time. You're going to put your numbers on your graph. You might, guys, you can start with 5. You could start with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You could have started with 5. You could have started with 2. You could, as long as the 5 through 9 fit somewhere on that graph, put them. So yours can be anywhere on there as long as you got 5 through 9 on there. Okay, here we go. Open or closed on the 5? Open and shaded to the right. Open or closed on the 9?
Closed.
Shaded to the left. It's a little bit smaller range this time. It only goes from the 5 up to the 9. Open on the 5. Shaded in the middle. Closed on the 9. Now, it doesn't ask for interval notation, but just practicing again very quickly. 5 on this side, 9 on this side. What goes next to the 5? Parentheses. What goes next to the 9? Brackets. Perfect. Perfect. Good job, guys. Nicely done. Okay, now guys, the next two, the next two are and or. Do you see I switched back to where you have one of one of the other? These are our last two problems like this, and then we've got some just interval notation, which should be easy after all the stuff we've done on there. It's just interval notation from a graph, which by doing all the problems along the way, it should make it easier. We're doing good on time, guys. So here we go. I told you this is going to be a long one, guys. So we're doing pretty good. Mainly just because I want to give you enough examples to make the homework doable. If I don't give you enough, then I just let you struggle on the homework. That doesn't do anything. Okay, guys, this is an or. You need to solve it. You need to graph it. To solve it, you would let the door close. Plus 7 plus 7. It's going to be 4k is less than or equal to 32. You're going to divide both sides by 4. And guys, what's 32 divided by 4? 8. Then you're going to do the other side. Ooh, what do you do with the 12? Subtract it. It's a positive 12. To make a positive 12 go away, you have got to subtract it. That's going to cancel out. You get negative 9k is greater than or equal to 18. You divide both sides by negative 9. And k is going to be, now this was greater than or equal to, but because I divided by a negative, I'm going to make it less than or equal to negative 9. Oh, sorry, I apologize. Yes, sorry. I was thinking about something else. I was thinking Jonathan locked himself out. Okay, here we go. Guys, when you have two of them, and you're going to write the or statement, put the one that's negative first, or the lesser of the two. So it would be k is less than or equal to negative 2, or k is less than or equal to 8. You're going to see what happens, though, because it does something unique. This is kind of like one of the others. The ors, when they go the same way, get weird. So let's graph this. Ooh, I don't think that'll fit. Does it not? Doesn't fit? So you're going to have to count by like twos? Let's do it by twos. Negative 2, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Guys, if you can't fit, you can count by twos, you can count by fives, you can count by threes, you can count by whatever unit that fits the numbers on there so you can see them all. Okay. Open dot, no, closed dot at the 2, going to the left. Closed dot at the 8, going also to the left. So guys, do y'all see one takes over the other? Which one takes over? 8. This one takes over. So this is your answer, guys. K is less than or equal to 8. That's the answer because that one takes over. It's or, but the other one is inside of that one. So it takes over. And your answer on your graph is only going to be from the 8, and it's going to go all the way to the left-hand side. It's going to have an arrow in the end. And guys, because it has an arrow on the end, the other number that you put in interval notation is going to be what number? Negative infinity. Okay. Who's got an answer to write in interval notation? Let's see. Anybody got one? Try it.
Negative infinity 8 in brackets.
And 8. There's one bracket. Where does the bracket go, guys? Next to the 8. If it's got an infinity symbol, it's always a parentheses, positive or negative. Nice. Thank you for trying. Good. Okay. Hey, this is the last one to solve, guys. The last two are just interval notation. So here we go. This is an and. You're going to need to separate it. It's going to be 4 is less than or equal to y plus 2 and y plus 2 is less than or equal to negative 3y plus 30. Guys, did y'all see what I did? I took this, I split it and made it on both sides. I took that whole thing, y plus 2 over here, y plus 2 over here, and I put and in the middle. Now, I'm going to solve this one by subtracting 2 from both sides. That makes it 2 is less than or equal to y. But what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? Wrong side. Y is greater than or equal to 2. I can't remember what the graph does on this one. Let's see. On this one, I got it. What would you move first, guys? We've got everything going everywhere. Hold on. Sorry. Come on in.
Wait, oh.
No, not right now. When you go to the bathroom. This Miss Rayleigh. Hey. Yes. Okay, wonderful. Is she coming back up? Okay. Okay. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay. Do you understand what I mean, Jonathan?
Yeah.
So you don't get locked out. Okay, guys, here we go. To solve this one, I'm just going to go fast because we're using time. I don't want to use your time. Plus 3y plus 3y. What's y plus 3y? 4y. Plus 2 is less than or equal to 30. Minus 2 minus 2. It's going to make it 4y is less than or equal to 32. Divide by 4, and y would be...
It's 28.
Oh, minus 2, thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I'm thinking about what she said. And she was talking about Anastasia's coming up, so I just want to make sure I was thinking about that. Here we go. 28. Divide by 4,
7.
and y is less than or equal to 7. Thank you. Don't just let me do that. Okay, what do I have to write it as? Ooh, right here. Put them together. What do I put in the middle? And. So, y is greater than or equal to 2 and y is less than or equal to 7. And.
Wait, what happened to the 4?
What 4, son?
The,
What 4?
we divided the 4?
Which 4 are you talking about, son?
The 4 next to the y plus 2, this should be 4.
So to solve that I did minus 2 minus 2.
Oh, now I see.
Okay. Yes, ma'am?
Why didn't you do y plus 2?
Because that's what was in the middle. I have to take everything from in the middle, move it over here. I have to take everything from in the middle and put it over here. Whatever's in the middle has to go to both of them. Anybody else?
No.
Okay, graph it. We've got to put our numbers on here. Let's start with 0, 1, 2, 3. Will it fit? Oh, shoot. Did I start too soon? No. 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, it fit. Look at that. You're going to put a solid dot on the 2, and you're going to go to the right. You're going to put a solid dot on the 7, and you are going to go to the left. Those don't need to be, guys, they should not take you a long time. Dot, draw, dot, draw. That doesn't need to be a long process. We're not making the final graph. We're just sketching. The whole reason to sketch is to get where your answer is. The answer is where they overlap because this is an and. So it's going to go from a solid dot on the 2 up to a solid dot on the 7. And it's going to shade everything in between. The interval notation for that would just go from 2 to 7. And what would be on the outside of both of these?
Brackets.
Brackets. Brackets on the outside of both of them. Brackets. Alright. Last thing is just interval notation, guys. Anything before we go to that? Yeah, please. Huh? Yeah. Need another sharpen, is that what you said? Yeah, please. No. Just let me know you're good. I can talk over a pencil sharpener. Okay, guys. Last thing is just interval notation, then write the inequality and then write interval notation. So anytime you start off with this, the easiest thing to do is, guys, wherever this is, wherever the shading is, that's going to be your variable. Shading, that's your variable. This one is going to have -5 on this side and have -3 on this side. Now, when you do an and like this, they're always less than less than. Listen to me. Put a star. Always going to be less than when you do this. The only thing you have to decide is, are you putting the bars underneath? Are they closed dots? Yes. So what do you need to put under here? No, not for interval notation. Under this part of it.
The line.
The line, which is called the or equal to.
Yeah.
Gotta have that. No, you're good. That's perfect. The line is fine. Okay? Yes.
How do you know when you put the line?
When it's closed dot. If it was like this, there would not be a line underneath. Thank you for asking. Anybody else? You okay there? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
For the other problem, how would you know if it's an and?
What other problem?
Number 6.
Okay, hold on. Let me go back to that. Let's finish up. So I just want to worry, and then I'll go back. I promise I'll go back and answer your question. Okay, guys, last one. We got to do interval notation for this, then do our last one. Guys, for interval notation for ands, it's straightforward. Put the -5 on this side, comma. Put the -3 on this side, and because they're both closed, they're both going to be what?
Brackets.
Brackets. Y'all got the interval notation part down. Okay, here we go on this one. Now, ors are going to be different. Ors has to be separate. You're going to put your part out here. It's going to be x is what? What direction does this point?
Left.
Left, which is less than. And then the number is going to be 1. Then you're going to do the same thing over here. You're going to put x, and this one points to the right. So what do you write down for one that points to the right? Greater than. And the number is going to be?
6.
Whoa, the number is going to be? 4. Where the dot is the number. And then what do you put in between? Or. Now, when we write this as one that's going to be interval notation, I suggest, so that you get the numbers you need, you put the negative infinity next to this arrow, and you put an infinity next to this arrow. The reason is, when you go to do interval notation, you would write the negative infinity and this number 1. Both would have what around them? Parentheses. Nice. Or On the other one, it's going to have a 4 and an infinity symbol. And they're both going to have what around them? Parentheses.
Yeah.
Nicely done, guys. Okay, that's your notes for today. Let me go ahead and pause this. Y'all